December 25th. I mean, if there is one day on the global calendar that is just drenched in light, saturated with sound, repeating traditions.
Oh, absolutely. It carries this pure, concentrated emotional charge.
It really does.
Yeah.
You have lights everywhere, carols in the air. The annual customs just repeat themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission in this deep dive is to take that immense, sprawling global spectacle and apply a very specific disciplined lens to it.
Right.
We are looking through the lens of Tevet 55786, which falls squarely on this date.
Yeah.
So we're moving beyond just the surface level of, celebration and asking a critical question. How do we achieve true discernment when the whole world is clamoring for our attention?
That's the core tension, isn't it? That's what we need to resolve for you, the listener. We're hunting for that crucial difference between cultural spectacle, which is designed to demand your attention.
And your emotional participation.
Exactly. And on the other hand, spiritual revelation, which requires disciplined internal attention. Tevet, the 10th month, it's all about this season of spiritual discipline, of mature vision.
So the very structure of the day is training us.
It is. The structure of Tevet 5 is training the eye in the eye to recognize heaven's announcement without being consumed or, distracted by all of Earth's noise.
So mission defined, clarity amid the noise. And to even begin that process, we have to tackle the calendar context. The sources are really direct here.
There.
Before we can celebrate, we need to understand the history of why we celebrate on this specific day.
Exactly. The first thing we must establish for anyone listening is that December 25th is a chosen date of commemoration. It's not the precise date Scripture tells us Jesus was born.
It's the day the church chose.
Right. Centuries ago, they strategically chose it to celebrate his birth. And that distinction, it matters deeply, but not because we should spend the day arguing about dates.
And I love the analogy the sources provided here because it just takes all the heat out of that historical debate.
It's such a helpful way to think about it.
It is. Think of it like this. If your birthday fell on a Tuesday, a mandatory workday, your family might just move the party to Saturday so everyone could actually gather and celebrate.
Of course, for convenience.
Exactly. Moving the celebration date didn't change the historical reality of your birth. It just made room for everyone to participate. December 25th is that chosen, convenient celebration date. It's not a biblical timestamp.
And that chosen day actually runs counter to the seasonal reality that the biblical text itself suggests. Luke 2.8 is our primary physical clue.
Yeah.
It states that the shepherds were living outdoors, keeping watch over their flock by night.
Which, when you look at the climate data for Judea, was just impractical for December.
It's more than impractical. It's agriculturally and historically very unlikely. December in Judea is the height of the rainy and cold season. The flock would have been brought in.
Right, out of the open fields. For protection.
For protection, yes. Into enclosures, or at least the fold. Night grazing in open fields would put the animals at risk. This strongly suggests the actual birth was in the spring or early fall.
Maybe around Nisan.
Possibly. Nisan, the time of Passover, the lambing season. That's when shepherds would indeed be living outdoors and actively watching their flocks through the night.
So if the evidence for a spring or autumn birth is so overwhelming in the sources, why has the world, including the religious world, clung so tightly to December 25th? Was it just convenience?
Well, historically, it was a practical decision. The early Christians overlaid the celebration onto established pagan festivals like Saturnalia. It was a way to ease conversion and shift the cultural focus.
It's a strategic move.
A strategic effort to displace competing cultural noise with the truth of the incarnation. But here's the Tevet wisdom, and this is really the core lesson for today. If we spend all our energy correcting the date without correcting our internal vision, we still remain immature. Tevet is not about winning a historical argument. It's about seizing the opportunity this day provides to learn how to see rightly.
That's a crucial bridge. If the date isn't the point, then what is the divine pattern we actually need to be tracking?
What's fascinating here is if we connect this focus on vision to the bigger picture of the incarnation, we get a sobering truth from John 1:11.
He came to his own, and his own did not receive him.
Exactly. The light of the world arrived, yet the people who should have recognized him, the religious authorities, the political leaders, they completely missed it. The light did not arrive with the kind of public governmental fanfare they were conditioned to expect.
But wait, this is where we need to nail the nuance. Because when we say he didn't come with worldly fanfare, we are not saying heaven was silent.
No, not at all.
Or that the birth was hidden in obscurity. The source material is so careful about this. It was actually one of the loudest moments in history.
Precisely. It was loud, but it was a heavenly announcement, not an earthly spectacle. Heaven was profoundly active. Scripture confirms 3 distinct, high-impact mechanisms of announcement.
Okay, what were they?
First, celestial signs. A star appeared and it moved, guiding the Magi across vast distances. They found him because they were watching the cosmos,
Not the news of the day.
not the news of the day. Second, divine messengers. Angels announced the birth in the heavens and personally summoned the shepherds. And third, divine glory literally broke into the night sky, illuminating the fields.
That's massive. That's a cosmic event, but it was incredibly targeted.
Exactly. It bypassed all the gatekeepers of worldly authority. Contrast this with the typical avenues of political power. Christ did not arrive through royal courts or government proclamations or the religious hierarchy of the Sanhedrin.
Herod only heard about it secondhand.
Right, and the religious establishment had to be prompted to even consult their own scriptures.
He arrived through celestial signs, visible only to those looking up, divine messengers speaking to humble field workers, and obedient hearts responding to a really unlikely summons.
The Magi found Jesus not because they were listening for political noise or palace rumors, but because they were watching the heavens, the very thing Tevet trains us to do.
It was an invitation then, not a command.
An invitation to observe and respond, not a mandate enforced by cultural control. This is why so many still missed him. They weren't watching for the type of announcement heaven was making. They were expecting a political upheaval, not a humble king announced to shepherds.
It was revelation, not a widespread public broadcast. The light of the world was hidden in plain sight, available only to focused vision.
Exactly.
Which brings us directly to Section 3. The tools the sources give us for developing that disciplined vision. We see what to look for, so let's talk about the how-to. The core mandate for this day is focus. Proverbs 4.25 gives us the instruction. Let your eyes look straight ahead.
And your gaze be fixed right before you. Tevet provides the structure to distinguish between revelation and tradition, between announcement and cultural distraction.
And the primary tool is the Hebrew letter for this month, right?
Ayin.
Ayin, yes. Ayin literally means the eye or perception. It represents disciplined sight. And when you look at the ayin, the question it poses is so critical. It's not how much do you see, as in,
How many traditions can you participate in?
yes, exactly that, but rather how well do you see?
I find that shift so profound, especially on December 25th. We often chase expanded vision, trying to see the whole cultural panorama. But Ayin says we need to strengthen the vision we already have.
Through intentional focus and consistency, Herod had all the scrolls. He knew where to look, but he did not see. The shepherds saw because they were actively watching. Our attention has to be intentional, especially when the noise is loudest.
So if Ayin is the quality of our sight, what's the next tool? The next tool is Dan, the tribe associated with this period. Dan means judge. So on a day filled with intense emotional pull, commercial urgency, and cultural chaos, Dan teaches us discernment before declaration.
And evaluation before reaction.
Yes. Careful evaluation before reaction.
Okay, let's make that practical. How does applying the lens of Dan help the listener avoid cultural traps on this specific day?
It acts as an internal filter against what you could call cultural FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Right.
The cultural spectacle pushes us to consume, to participate, to rush. Dan encourages us to pause, judge the motivation, and ask, is this tradition feeding the revelation, or is it just demanding my emotional energy? The judgment of Dan ensures that your focus isn't scattered trying to climb every cultural mountain.
That links beautifully to the third tool, the celestial sign, Capricorn. The sources emphasize that the outcome of that focused gaze is stability.
And authority. That's the payoff of Dan's judgment. The mountain goat, Capricorn, climbs deliberately, intentionally. It doesn't chase noise or move emotionally.
So it's about stability.
It is. Capricorn declares that maturity is stability, not speed or frantic participation. You don't climb every emotional or cultural mountain you see. You climb only what heaven assigns. If your vision is disciplined, your movement will be stable. A divided gaze produces confusion. A disciplined gaze produces stability and spiritual authority.
So we have the quality of sight with Ayin, the filtering mechanism with Dan, and the mode of ascent with Capricorn. To complete this framework, we have the gemstone, Sapphire.
Sapphire. It represents truth, precision, and clear sight. It's heaven's clarity rendered visible. On a day when the world is celebrating outward light and decoration tinsel, electric lights, ornaments,
All the trapping.
all the trappings. Sapphire wisdom provides the inner filter. It helps you resist the temptation of distraction, ignore the cultural noise, reject sentimentality without substance, and stay centered on Christ himself, not the beautiful but often distracting things around him.
It's the ultimate spiritual filter against consumption. If the cultural noise gets too loud, Sapphire helps you refine your perception back to the essential person.
Back to the incarnation. Yes.
And that leads us directly to the prophetic insight for this day. The real conflict isn't darkness opposing light. That's a straightforward battle. The enemy opposes true revelation with something far more insidious.
Which is?
Distraction, overfamiliarity, emotional overload, and tradition without reverence.
That's a massive insight. We should just sit on that for a moment. The danger isn't that people stop celebrating Christmas. The danger is that when spiritual truths become an annual tradition, we risk losing the revelation they were meant to convey. The light came, many celebrated the concept, but so few recognized him in the moment.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Tevet 5 declares the mandate. Do not let tradition replace revelation. Don't let celebration distract you from the profound reality of the incarnation. It's a call to move from passive celebration to active incarnation.
Exactly. By guarding that inner precise light when the world is celebrating that outward generalized light. Focus guards revelation.
So what does this all mean for us today? This entire deep dive, it wasn't about arguing dates or criticizing traditions. It was about truly seeing Christ.
That's it.
The disciplined gaze, shaped by Ayin, Dan, Capricorn, and Sapphire, it honors his humility and obedience. And the invitation of this day is about trust activation, about strengthening that focus right now.
The deep dive material zeroes in on 3 immediate practical steps that build on the discipline of the Ayin. We start in rest during the evening.
Okay.
You need to sit quietly and just ask yourself, what is competing most aggressively for my attention today? You have to identify that specific noise, whether it's commercial pressure or an emotional expectation.
And then during the daytime, you move in trust.
Yes.
Right.
Once you've identified the distraction, you choose one thing, just one, and you intentionally release it. You redirect your attention toward intentional obedience instead.
That could be anything. Turning off the phone for a couple hours.
Or choosing quiet reflection over another consumption cycle.
And finally, at night, end in reflection.
Yes. Ask yourself this clear question. Where did focused vision bring me peace or clarity today? And then record that moment. This transforms the day from a passive consumption of spectacle into an active activation of your own spiritual maturity.
Of those 3 steps, rest, trust, and reflection, which one do you think is the hardest to implement when the culture is demanding constant movement?
I would argue it's the first one, rest. Identifying the noise. Most people assume the noise is external, the traffic, the music, but so often the greatest competitor for our attention is the internal pressure to perform the holiday perfectly. Until you identify that internal demand, you can't really move in trust to redirect your focus.
Heaven announced his birth with cosmic signs and divine messengers. It was loud, it was precise, and it was impossible to miss if you were watching the right channel. The question has always been, who was watching? Tevet trains you to be one who sees. Your task is to keep your eyes fixed on him,